America is often seen as the richest and most powerful country in the world, a land where opportunity is endless and success is achievable for anyone willing to work hard. Yet hidden behind the shining skyscrapers, luxury suburbs, and booming tech hubs is a harsh reality that many Americans live every day. Across the United States, entire cities are quietly slipping into poverty. Streets that once echoed with factory whistles and busy workers are now lined with abandoned homes, closed businesses, and empty storefronts. These are not small villages or forgotten towns. Many of these places were once economic engines that helped build modern America. Cities like Detroit, Cleveland, St. Louis, Flint, and Gary were once symbols of prosperity and hope. Today, they struggle with unemployment, shrinking populations, rising crime, and failing infrastructure. The question is not whether this decline is happening, but why. How did some American cities fall so far behind, while others continue to grow richer? This video uncovers the hidden reasons behind the decline of certain U.S. cities and explains how decades of economic changes, social shifts, and missed opportunities slowly turned thriving communities into struggling ones. To understand why some U.S. cities are becoming poor, we must first look at their past. Many of these cities were built during America's industrial golden age. Manufacturing, steel production, automobile factories, coal mining, railroads, and shipping ports provided millions of stable, well-paying jobs. These industries created a strong middle class and allowed ordinary families to buy homes, raise children, and live with dignity. Cities grew rapidly, neighborhoods flourished, and local businesses thrived because workers had money to spend. Detroit became the heart of the global auto industry. Pittsburgh was powered by steel. Cleveland and Buffalo became major transportation and manufacturing hubs. Entire generations depended on these industries, and city governments relied heavily on factory taxes to fund schools, roads, hospitals, and public services. The problem was that many cities depended on just one or two industries. When those industries were strong, cities thrived. But when global competition increased and technology advanced, this heavy dependence became a dangerous weakness that many cities were unprepared for. The biggest turning point came with deindustrialization. Starting in the late 20th century, factories began shutting down or moving overseas where labor was cheaper. Automation replaced human workers, allowing companies to produce more with fewer employees. Millions of blue-collar jobs disappeared in a relatively short period of time. 4 cities built entirely around factories. This was devastating. When a factory closed, it didn't just eliminate jobs, it destroyed the local economy. Workers lost income. Local shops lost customers, and city governments lost tax revenue. Unemployment rose sharply, and many workers lacked the education or skills to transition into new industries. Unlike growing tech cities, these places did not attract investment or innovation. Once factories left, nothing replaced them. The economic foundation collapsed, and cities entered a long-term decline that continued year after year, leaving behind empty warehouses, rusting machinery, and communities with no clear future. As jobs disappeared, people began to leave. Population decline became one of the most damaging effects of economic collapse. Young people moved away in search of education, work, and better living conditions. Families followed, hoping for safer neighborhoods and stronger schools. This movement, often called urban flight, drained cities of talent, energy, and money. As the population shrank, so did the tax base. Fewer residents meant less funding for public services, which caused schools to deteriorate, roads to crumble, and public transportation to fail. The cities became trapped in a vicious cycle. People left because conditions were bad, and conditions became worse because people left. Entire neighborhoods were abandoned. Houses stood empty for years, sometimes decades. Property values collapsed, making it nearly impossible for remaining residents to sell their homes or build wealth. What was once a growing city slowly turned into a place struggling to survive. With fewer jobs and declining populations, poverty increased rapidly. Many residents were forced to accept low-paying, unstable work with no benefits. Others depended on government assistance just to meet basic needs. Poverty brought additional problems, including food insecurity, poor healthcare access, and declining mental health. In many cities, children grew up surrounded by hardship, limiting their chances of escaping the cycle of poverty. The lack of opportunity created frustration, anger, and hopelessness. Businesses avoided these areas, fearing low profits and high risk. Banks stopped lending, and investment dried up. This economic isolation pushed cities further into decline and made recovery even harder. Infrastructure decay became another visible sign of poverty. Roads went unrepaired, public buildings crumbled, and water systems aged beyond safe limits. Schools struggled with outdated facilities, overcrowded classrooms, and lack of resources. Emergency services faced shortages of staff and equipment. In some cities, basic services like clean drinking water became a serious issue. These failures were not sudden disasters, but slow consequences of years of reduced funding. When a city cannot maintain its infrastructure, it sends a clear signal to investors and residents that the future is uncertain. Poor infrastructure drives more people away, accelerating the decline and increasing the burden on those who remain. Crime and safety issues also increased in many struggling cities, but this was not the cause of poverty. It was the result. When communities lose jobs, education opportunities, and social support, crime often rises. People turn to illegal activities out of desperation, not choice. Underfunded police departments and social services struggle to respond effectively. Media coverage often focuses on crime without addressing its root causes, which damages a city's reputation and discourages tourism and investment. This creates another damaging cycle where fear replaces opportunity and decline deepens. While some cities declined, others flourished. Cities like New York, Austin, Seattle, and San Francisco attracted technology companies, skilled workers, and massive investment. This created a growing divide between rich and poor cities in America. Opportunity became unevenly distributed, leaving many regions behind. Government policies, lack of long-term planning, and sometimes corruption worsened the situation in struggling cities. Short-term decisions replaced sustainable development, and chances for renewal were missed again and again. Yet despite everything, these cities are not beyond hope. Some are slowly rebuilding through education, renewable energy, healthcare, and technology. Community leaders, small businesses, and young entrepreneurs are working to create change from within. Recovery is slow and difficult, but not impossible. The decline of American cities is not just an economic story. It is a human one. Behind every statistic are families, workers, and dreams that deserve a future. The real question is whether America is willing to invest in these forgotten cities again, or allow them to fade into history.